We'll start with John's service first. And John, just me and you talking. Forget all these guys here.
Okay.
I think she can go 1.8 miles. I'm pretty confident now she's going to. You had questions about distance with her, but did not show that was not an issue today.
No, she's matured so much mentally, and she's learned to settle. I mean, down the backside, she was just galloping along and so relaxed that I felt pretty good. I don't want to feel too good early on in the race, but I felt pretty good where we were.
Yeah. Now this, she'd won. She was unbeaten until she went to the Ashland. Last fall, when she ran in Maryland, she'd won her races by open lengths, 14 and 16, I think was the margin. So knew you had a talented filly. We're disappointed at Keeneland. In retrospect, looking back at that race, looking at this race and how she ran today, was it a matter of tactics, or is it just her maturing and coming along?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both. You know, it turns out the best thing that ever happened to her was the day at Gulfstream when she got left at the gate, and we realized, you know, how well she settled in behind horses. You know, with Songbird, you know, as talented as she is, it looks like if you want to beat her, you're going to have to hook her early. And you know, if she'd have run, I don't know, because if we do that, then you're changing her style, and now you're messing with her head. She's maturing, she's learned to settle, and now you're going to put her out on the pace to try to soften up another horse. So, you know, with Songbird being out and her coming into this race as good as she was and how she learned to settle, we were feeling pretty good.
Well, we'll wish the best for Songbird down the road.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
In your case, it's really good when things work out.
Yes, it is.
Again, now 2 for 2 in the classics here at Churchill Downs, the Kentucky Derby, and I'll get a chance to think about it a little second before I ask you how these two, at least bookends, kind of compare. And we'll go to Mr. Zachney and say congratulations on a wonderful filly. And were you prepared for this kind of effort today from Cathryn Sophia?
I really was. Talked to John pretty much every day since the Ashland, and he was just so confident in this filly. I was cautiously optimistic, but every time I talked to him, he just his confidence was just bubbling over. I think it happened probably her work about 2 weeks ago. She did about 112 for 6 furlongs, and he was just thrilled to death. So we felt pretty good going into this race. Obviously, an extra 16th was a concern after the Ashland, but the way she was training and all, we felt pretty good.
It's a good race. We're obviously proud of it. Where does it kind of rank for you? Is this a very good moment in thoroughbred racing for you?
Absolutely. Well, I had the pleasure of being part of the ownership of a Fleet Alex back in 2004, 2005, and he won 2/3 of the Triple Crown. But as far as fillies, obviously this is very, very special for many reasons. I was looking for a Maryland-bred horse back in 2014, went to the Fassick-Tipton sale, and you know, picked her out. She wasn't a big filly, but she was athletic, and we got her for $30,000. And what a bargain today.
Exactly. Nice return on investment.
Yes, it is.
Overall purse today. Cathryn Sophia, we'll turn to you now. Did you know this horse was going to be named after you? And just kind of what are your thoughts today with a horse winning a race of this caliber? And your name's going to be pretty prominently placed around our racetrack for a good while. So, is it a thrill?
It's a thrill. It's a privilege, too, to be here, to be named after the horse that just won. It's an amazing feeling.
Are you a fan of horse racing? Are you much more of a fan of horse racing today than you were yesterday? Kind of where are you at this point in terms of your regard for the sport?
I am now.
This is actually the first race she's been to.
You know, I had a feeling that.
Yes,
That's what I was trying to get
being
at.
in college and all, it's difficult. So.
Yeah, sure. Where do you go to college?
Rowan University.
Great. Brown.
Rowan.
Sorry.
Rowan.
Never mind. Rowan. Mr. Zachney, again, your thoughts on winning this race. You've been here with Fleet Alex running a huge race on that day.
So this was terrific. She ran a great race. John had her prepared, and Javier gave a great ride, and the results were there. I think we won by about 3 lengths, so we were thrilled to death. Prior to coming up with the name for the horse, I always talked to the trainer, and I asked John, what do you think? And he goes, yeah, she's got some talent. I said, good, because I want to name her after my niece. She's a little spitfire, a soccer player, and so she certainly demonstrated that today.
I don't know about you guys. It's been my experience in racing. If you name a horse after a human, they're either slow or really healthy and stay slow for a long time. This one breaks the rules. So congratulations. be anxious to see what she does. John, just your thoughts on where this filly has come from. Does this performance surprise you today?
No. I mean, from her first race, we knew she had a lot of talent. Again, obviously, how far she would go was always in question, and the maturity that she's shown in the last 3-4 weeks alone. I mean, just she's just made the turn for the better, and she's been terrific.
You really should come here more often. You got one for each spire now. We'll see what happens down the road. All right, let's open it up for questions for John Service, the winning trainer with Cathryn Sophia, Chuck Zachney of Cash is King, and the actual Cathryn Sophia. So any questions you might have, Tim Sullivan.
John, I wonder if you could elaborate on the calculation with or without Songbird, and if you had not run here, what would have been the plan?
Well, I don't want to make it sound like we ran from Songbird, because if she'd have won the Ashland, then we'd have certainly run in the Oaks with or without Songbird. I had a little reservation with when she got beat, when she rolled up there at the head of the lane like she did, and then didn't go on. And I'd always had a little bit about how far she'd go, just because she's not your typical looking two-turn horse. And the Street Boss is more of a sprinter sire and was a sprinter himself. So you always have that in the back of your mind.
Where would you have gone?
Probably to the 8 Bells. If we didn't go to the Oaks, we were planning on, if everything went well, doing the 8 Bells and then maybe the Acorn.
Tom Padula.
For John and Chuck, what does it say about the game that you can win an Oaks with a $30,000 purchase?
Well, it says the game's great. I mean, this isn't the first time those kind of things happen. I mean, look at Seattle Slug. There's been a lot of really, really good horses that were bought and passed for for different reasons. And, somebody took a shot and bought them, and it turned out really well. This isn't the first time, and I'm sure it's not going to be the last. We're just tickled to death it turned out for us.
Yeah, it says everybody has a chance. You look at some of the numbers of the horses and the sales, and a lot of them are over $1 million. And here we are picking a Maryland bred out for $30,000, and we're winning the Kentucky Oaks. That's pretty impressive.
John Clay.
John, what does it feel like to be back here 11 years or 12 years after Smarty Jones and to win this race?
It feels terrific. I mean, I went into the race today feeling really good. And I can tell you, I mean, if we would have got beat, I'd have felt really good, because I knew my filly was bringing her A game. And, I knew she was going to run well. And if we got beat, we got beat. That's just the way it was going to be. But it's nice to know that you're going into a race like the Oaks and a race like the Kentucky Derby with a little powder in the gun.
Jason Briggs.
John, I think you'd said earlier in the week that this filly is a little tougher than others to handle. Can you elaborate?
Not a little. No.
How difficult is it?
I'll give you an example of how tough she is. She came back from the racetrack on Thursday, and she went in the stall. We put the crossbar up. My son was in there with the blanket. The exercise boy got off of her, was taking the tack off of her, and the groom was in there with the halter ready to put the halter on her. And I was standing at the end of the barn talking with somebody, and next thing you know, I see 3 bodies fly out of the stall. And so now I go running down, I go, what the heck's going on? And the groom pulled the bridle off before the exercise rider's supposed to pull the bridle off. The groom pulled the bridle off. Well, when he did, as soon as he did that, she just wheeled around and bit him right in the stomach and threw him out of the stall. And now she's loose. He's got the halter. He's out in the shed row. And my son and the exercise boy, all they knew is they were getting the heck out of there. So we end up having to get down. Now I got a hot horse in the stall, nothing on, and you're not just going to go in the stall and get her. So we got a scoop of feed, and we messed with her for a little while, and she finally came to the front and was nibbling at the feed, and we got the halter on her and got her out. But she's a handful. Yeah, she's not, I don't want to make it sound like she's mental. She's not crazy or anything like that. She's just mean. And she's not like that really out of the stall. But when you're in her stall, that's her stall. And, I get a call at 8 o'clock at night one night. The groom, we put in the night sheets on earlier in April when it was cool. Can't catch her to get a night sheet on her. So I had to get people over there, and she's run a lot of people out of the stall, I can tell you that.
Guess we should feel fortunate she was out on the track instead of the winner's circle today, because it might have been her winner's circle.
Well, she's pretty good about, like I said, out of the stall, she's good.
She's out of the stall.
The great thing is she carries that attitude to the racetrack.
A quick note before we go to the next question. Attendance at the Kentucky Oaks today was a record, 124,583. 124,583 beat the record that was set last year, 763, 123,763. Your winning time, 1 minute 50.53 today for Cathryn Sophia. A question right here.
John, did the whole Smarty experience help you? I know it's been 11 years. I know you once told me that you didn't have dinner reservations, and after Smarty won, you had to take out pizza in the hotel lobby. You got dinner reservations tonight?
No. It wasn't broke, I wasn't gonna fix it. I did not. I did that on purpose, too. I called a couple places, and they were booked earlier in the week, and I thought, you know what? It worked pretty good last time. I'm not even gonna worry about it.
By the way, Javier just won the race, and he's going to ride the next race. So Javier is going to try to sweep from now through tomorrow, but he's going to ride the next race. We will have him here after that. So, next question.
Yeah. Chuck, you had mentioned specifically that you were looking for Maryland bred. Curious why you were looking for a Maryland bred, and then, for both of you, what are your plans for her next, and is there a possibility you might take her to Maryland to run again at some point?
I was looking for a Maryland bred because I've been following the program down there, and I saw that it was improving. So that's one of the reasons I was leaning in that direction. Do most of my racing out of Philadelphia Park, and I have a number of PA breds, but I wanted to expand upon that.
And then what are your plans for her, and would you consider taking her back to Maryland? I know she raced in Maryland last year.
Yeah, I think we'll probably discuss it, but maybe 5 weeks from now, what's the Acorn at Belmont? I think we're going to consider that.
John Clay again.
Chuck, I asked you sort of the same question I asked John. You mentioned about your association with the Fleet Alex. How does this compare to that?
Fleet Alex was really a special horse and a special time. It was a group of owners, and we just had a great, it was really our first horse. Back in 2004, we went to a sale and paid $75,000 and picked a Fleet Alex out. And then to come here was just, after a couple wins, we came in third, so that was a little disappointed, but then we won the Preakness and the Belmont. I guess it's different, is that we were just so new to the game in 2004, 2005. Now I kind of had the ups and downs over the last 10 years. So this is really special. I've never had a filly like this. I had a couple pretty good fillies, but certainly nothing of this quality.
Chuck, have you named your horses after your relatives, and is that a common thing that you've done?
I have, and other
Who are
people.
some other ones that you have, or and who are they named after?
Like I said, I usually get some feedback from the trainer. We had some horses actually named after my son. We have John's actually trained a horse, Awesome Alex, out of a Fleet Alex. He ran Tuesday and won at Philly Park. We had others, Prep Proud after my son's school, which is St. Joe's Prep. And it's just a matter of as I come across names and people, and like I said, I always ask for feedback from the trainers, and they get a feel as to what direction to go as far as naming.
Go ahead.
Okay, John, when did you make the decision to run the Oaks instead of the 8 Bills, and why?
I guess it came down to that work, really. I mean, with Songbird being out, Chuck and I talked about it, and we went back and watched the Ashland. I can't even tell you how many times. A lot. And then we started to lean a little bit toward the Oaks, and then we talked, and I said, let's. She's going to work on Saturday. Let's see how she works, and we'll make a decision afterwards. And the way she worked, I think it was kind of a no-brainer after that.
I remember getting a text and saying, "Did you hear about the rumor that Songbird might be out of the Oaks?" So we went back and forth, and that was late on a Sunday. And then we picked up the discussion Monday and said, maybe the Ashland wasn't such a bad race. And our goal was always the Kentucky Oaks. So we said, what the heck? Let's continue that, and here we are.
Any other questions? Jake, well, we got one back here. Go ahead.
This question is for Chuck. Just wanted to go through the ownership group, Cash is King. Are you, or the, you know, what are the percentages, or who else is involved in Cash is King?
Right now, there's, out of the 5 that started, there's only 3 left. Joe Lero, who is here today, and Barbara Judge. We have a handful of horses, and then actually I have a couple of horses by myself as well. We still support a Fleet Alex too. We have a couple mares.
Jason?
Forgive me, Chuck, I believe you described Cathryn as a feisty soccer player. Was there
Spitfire,
some
yes.
correlation with the Phillies' feistiness as well when you named her?
A little bit. I think it was more like for her size. She wasn't a real big filly, but she looked athletic, and that's how I describe my niece Cathryn. So I thought it was fitting.
Has she ever thrown 3 people out of a room? like a silly, sent them out of the stall. We have any, right back here, Evan?
Catherine, this question for Catherine. What's your last name?
McCarry,
Okay, can you spell that, please?
Spell.
MCCARRY.
Any other questions?
She's not going to go back to Keeneland. She's going to stay here, and then she's going to ship to Delaware the first of the week.
You had been thinking Acorn with her. What are there bigger thoughts now?
Well,
for distance races, or-
I mean, it's too early to say. We got to see how she came out of the race, and like I said earlier, it just, this opened up a whole new book now for us with her stretching out to the mile and eighth and handling it the way she did, and it's something we certainly will talk about for sure.
He's not here because he's riding the last 2, but talk a bit about Javier and his riding on this wonderful filly today.
I thought it was spot on. I mean, it was flawless, a flawless ride. He was very patient. He sat on her till they turned, they were into the stretch before he really set her down. He's leading rider in the country for a reason.
Exactly.
I got to give John a lot of credit for that too. I know him and I going in the race, he had a lot of dialogue with Javier as to how to ride the horse, and he really followed John's instructions well.
Any other questions? Yes, Tim.
John, as a general proposition, how much do you weigh who's in the race and who's not in deciding your path?
With a horse like this, really not much. We've been very confident with her from the beginning. I played it down a little bit this week with the media because I wanted the other 13 guys thinking that, maybe she's not as good as everybody thinks she is. And, like I said, the only thing is I didn't want to have to change her running style to go after Songbird, but if she'd have won the Ashland, that would have never been a question.
Any other questions?
John, if Songbird had been in this race, would you have run the Oaks?
If what?
If Songbird would have been in this race, would you have run the Oaks?
Probably not. No, I think we'd have stuck to our plan to go to the 8 bells.
Good when it works out. Any other questions? If not, let us salute Chuck Zachary, Cash is King, and John Service, now a winner of the Kentucky Derby and Kentucky Oaks. In classic races, he's 2 for 2 here. So don't pay attention to that 500 winning percentage.